from the people at the Keter Kavod Yeshiva in Nahariya. Let me see if I can find the place where we're supposed to start. I think do a good job of marking the beginning here. 1 second. Now the idea that I'm trying to do here is that since it's very easy to get started in these Pirushim and then start drilling down, but we never make it through the whole drush, and we have a few days, and so that's what I think we should do. So, however, there could be places here where we're not going to understand the basic drush, so then we might drill down. Now, this is the way it starts on page Kaf Zion. This is where it is. Let me get a drink here. Kaf Zion, it says, Drush Pesach, Drush Aleph, Be'inyan Pesach, Be'yitzias Mitzrayim. And as I said, I'm just going to read the top part, just the flowing line, and see how much of it we can do in the time allotted, and see if we get where we get into trouble. This is a long drush, at least in pages. Let's say Hine Noda. So the Masha Amra Chazon of Baruch, like the rabbi said, Osam Adoros, those generations. Which generations is he talking about? Arishonos, Dor Enosh V'Dor Hafloga, those particular ones. Silku as a Shechina Lamala, they caused the Shechina to go up, above, outside of this world. B'Rakia Shvia Machmash of Anoisef, to the seventh heaven. So seventh is probably a significant number, in the sense that that's really reaching the ultimate out of this world. Kriya Shavia Machmas of Vanosim, because of the sins of those generations. Now he needs to talk about this, and this is a subject that's fairly is not really discussed a lot outside of the Zohar and other Kisvei. V'Aki Yisrael Shehoy Ba'osar Adar Shal Shivud Mitzrayim Hoy Bechinas Osam and Nitzutzos shall carry Shehutzi Adam Arisha Ba'osam Mea B'Shloshim Shana Ad Shalol Nolad Shes, until the birth of Shes, Kamosha Amaz Echrona the Baruch, like the rabbi said. It's like said. Now, just going back over this a little bit, he has some words here that are not so easy to understand, but you'll just go through them quickly. Hoya Bechinas Osam and Nitzutzos, they're sparks of carry. So he says that inside the carry, I guess we would say like this, are sparks of Kedusha. Shotzia Adam Rishon, and then this was spilled by Adam Rishon. But these are alive. He says that these sparks of Neshamos, or sparks of Kedusha, are alive. And he says, going on, he said, V'acher kach, then after this, Boa Begilul, the sparks, it's a little bit difficult to really understand the whole idea, but Boa Begilul, Bedor Hamavel, it came as that spilled seed, the sparks of spilled life, let's say, so to speak, came back into the Dor Hamavel. So they did the same thing. So this is from the same root, the same idea. So this was from where they were originally formed and carved out until they actually get, I guess, melted down, or what's crushed in this flood. Zemash Amachakasa, this is what the Pakasa said, V'yar Hashem ki Rabba Ra'os Adam Ba'aretz. He says, very strongly stated, that carry is one of the real evils in the world. That's funny, isn't it? Because the world that we live in now. So let's go over here. V'noida, so he says, ki ha-kari nikra ra. So understand that carry is called evil. V'hamotzio nikra ra. Now there's a lot to be said, and you can see this because I guess we know this. And other things, the Breslov can see this, about the nature of this. Kamosha Amachakasa, like the Rabbi or the Pasuk says, V'hi er b'chor Yehuda ra be'enech Hashem. He was bad in Hashem's eyes. So he says, Ui l'Rasha, raw. So another pasuk here in Yeshaya, the Rasha is raw. Lo Yagurcha raw, this raw, so he's defending, he's stating here that carry is the basis of raw, evil. Knidrish b'sefer Zohar, that's all in the Zohar. There is some depth to that. What's going on, though? Nimsik Yerador Haku Choy Mamish Ra'os Ha'adam Ha'yadua. So this generation was really the evil of man, the really bad part of us. And we see the origin of it. Back to Adam and Rishon is that's the evil. Who Adam and Rishon, and that's the origin of it. This is what it says, Emche, I will wipe out or erase as Adam and Shebarasi that I have created. Who Adam and Rishon, who was that stated in regards to? It was stated in regards to Adam and Rishon Atzmo, Shenivra Al-Yedecha V'Hashem Yisbarach Atzmo, who was created through the name of Hashem Yisbarach, the Al-Yedei Hashem Yisbarach Atzmo, created by Hashem himself, Ve'elun Nitzutzosos, and these are his sparks, V'ratzalim Chosam, and we wanted, and it was desired to wipe them out, to erase them. So going on with our story. So he says that these are, what he's saying, these are sparks, which, he used the word nitzutzos, of living souls, of actual souls. What it means to be a spark, I guess, means a chelik. It's like a portion of the, of the soul itself. So he said that now they are rolled into, which it means in his galgal, or they are reincarnated, bedor haflogo. V'alechem consider on that devor, it says, V'yered Hashem rose es ha'ir, v'es ha'migdal, asher b'banu b'necha Adam, banu Adam, the Adam kadmo. He says this, I think it means banu. Bono built the Adam, that is the thing which was built by the first man, the Havens, and understand that the situation that led to the Dora Floga and the Dora Mabel was actually because of the act of the first man. B'nei Adam, so therefore they're called the children of man. The Moski Tipos carry because they are composed of drops of spilled seed, so that's what it is. This is the concept, and this is brought out a lot in SHAAR HaKodesh, is that the carry is one of the worst forms of spilling, even worse than I think. So remember, it works than living with a female who's not Jewish. Because it's singular, it's only male by itself. Gam oz hosifu lachto od limrod be'elyon, it sins further, and rebelled against the Almighty. But there was nothing that was more in terms of spilling their seeds and destroying their seeds like the Dor Mabel. Going on, the tzarich sheteda, so you have to know this. Ki inyan and the shamos hang be'inyan azacha v'noitza b'batan adam. This is the same concept as taking out gold out of the belly of the earth, so to speak, of the Mother Earth. It's full of different kinds of things that don't belong, that are apostle to the gold itself. So this is something that you would never know by looking at it, that it has the appearance of gold, and nothing nice about it at all, until you find the wisdom of the refiner. Lahagos sigim, to take out these really bad parts of life, which I guess it's a reference really to the carry. Lahagos, to think about how to take out the sigim, one time after another, you have to constantly keep refining it. Zikuk achazichuch, lo roi zeh roi zeh. It'll be called zikuch, but the more you refine it, mizdakech la'at la'at, it starts to become refined, little by little. Ad shecha b'kol hasigi nifradim in azochim, until all of the puzzle parts, the parts that are not gold, are separated from the gold itself. Achar kach nikar hiyoso zochav, and then after all of this process, you could see that there's something real gold there, which is, let's say, real kedusha there. V'kena inib in the neshamos. So the same thing. We're in a study now of this carry and the neshamos. Ki becheter shalada berishon, this arav tov v'ra. This is what happens: is that sin mixed good and bad. Now it's not clear here. Maybe in the beer down below, it will tell you about what the mixing actually is, or a little bit more about the secret of the mixing. But for this purpose, this is nisarv tov v'ra of the prop nitzutzos ha'elo, and specifically when you're taking these nitzutzos that we're talking about of the spilled seed, shall hakari shaholid b'meya shloshim shana, that he were given birth to over the course of those 130 years. Let's move along. Ukavar nizbar, and we've already explained it's all been explained by us. Bedrash Shkivas Alayla, when we talk about laying down at nighttime and going to bed at that time, of a Kriya Shema Shalamita, and in that place, where Kriya Shema Shalamita has a large section, which is taken, some of which is taken from the SHAAR Ruach HaKodesh, which is for the purpose of saving the spilled seeds. So he says a large section of that, Sha'al Hamita ki Nitzutzos Sakeri, they are extremely, extremely important and holy. But because of the fact that the connection between male and female wasn't there, they actually spill someplace, and they spill into the klipos, false images, false directions in life. So in order to get them out, this is the background. This is interesting. This is the background of Pesach. There's a background of Pesach who's telling us. So we have to do something to mesaken them. So therefore we saw that they were going, and little by little they're being refined. I'm not sure what it means. They're being squeezed back into what? How are they being refined? That until you get to a place where you can finally see the bechina of the gold that's actually inside of that. Now he's talking about what the gold is. He's talking about the carry, or the kedusha that's in the carry. In order to be able to take it out from the klipo, he says you have to go through some difficult times. You have to work on it. This was from the generation of Mizraim. For this you're going to understand a true reason. Why was this gezerah put on this generation? This slavery that we fell through, that there was nothing as bad as this. This is the worst. So he says, so we understand this is the same kind of idea of put those neshamos, which are inside of people, through the test. So over there in the door of Mabel, where they spilled their seed, so that quote from the Haggadah, where it says that all of the sons of the Torah, I guess, says that is born have to be thrown into the water. Dugmas onish hamabel. This is similar to the same thing that happened in the door of Mabel. Look over there. He says hava nul levanim. So they said over there, let's make bricks. So therefore, and they embittered their life, like what Homer is mortar and bricks. So I've talked about this previously, the Rav says. Besod Shabbos v'dinim b'mara, so that dinim over there in Mara ipakod ein sham hetiv, something over there. Now v'amnam heyosa shivach be'eretz Mitzrayim, so that the fact that the slavery actually took place in Eretz Mitzrayim, hatam hu, the reason is why ki hinei noida. So this is known. Shekal the Shabbos bagels min achasadim v'chagavuras hashach b'muach hadas. So let's talk about this here a little bit. He says, where do the chasadim and the gavuros, which are the agents, the catalysts that grow the zera anpin and the nukva, shekal the Shabbos bagels min achasadim v'chagavuras hashach b'muach hadas, that are in the moach hadas, which came from the Yesod of Ima, let's say so to speak, Sham Talui Sod HaZivug, because at the Das is the place where Zivug takes place. Zivug means, once again, the movement of the seed. Ki Sham Talui Sod HaZivug. Moshe Amar HaKosev Adam, the man, Yada Es Chava Ishto. So this is Lashon Das. So Das has within it the catalyst for the seed. I don't know if it has the seed and wants to say that it has the seed within it. V'ish lo yada is another quote. A man did not know. Lebein nikra das. Excuse me. Therefore, it's called das. What does das teach you? L'horetz ki misham nimshechas tipis azivuk, because this is the place that the drop. So I guess he just really solved what I was trying to understand. He said ki misham nimshechas tipis azivuk, because this is where the tipo that has to be carried on, the tipa which contains the light of the Ein Sof Baruch Hu, and eternity and everything in it, has to be misham nimshechas tipas hazivuk. Hanikra b'lashon yediyah is known by the number of yediyah, knowing something. Knowing means the bringing of the tipa into the guf of zera anpin and into the nog. Now let's see what else he says. Just we had this situation. Gam osam and the neshama shachol the door haku shal Moshe Rabbeinu all of a shalom. Let's go now to Mitzrayim. He says, and let's look at the neshama of that door, the generation of, and we're seeing already that the generation is somehow attached to this kedusha, this, what would you call it, the lost kedusha amongst the klipa. The Kavod is bar v'tzleina, so it's already been explained. Ki Moshe hu mibechinas adas. Moshe runs down the middle of the line, middle line. V'chein kol chador haku heim mibechinas adas. So therefore, the whole generation is the bin of the das. Now he gave us a definition of the word das, and he said das just is lashon zivug and lashon yichud. So he says that okay, because without it, there's no possibility. V'chein call hador haku heim bebechinas adas. El shehem yatzach al klipa. But where did they come out? Where does this das, this seed, appear? Appear just like we said. This is metaphor for the gold. He says, where does this appear? Klipas, this yatzach el klipos, the sibasi yosim tipos, because they belong. That's their nature. Their inner nature is that they are tipos of carry. So he says with 130 years. Now, there must be some significance in the number 130. It is 13 times. Is it 13 times 10? Yeah. I'm not sure what that means. But at any rate, over those 130 years, until the birth of Shes, he was not the part of the carry that led up to Shes, but he's actually the one that pulls everything back together again. He's Shes. Shes is an interesting name also. So going on though, V'lechein, all of it more on regards to Shes, it says V'tera osoki tovu. So he saw that it was good. Vein the kashar tipos raul shal adam rishon, but they're not like all of the rest of the living drops that came from our the evil drops. So he says tipos rose. Adam rishon beberev shloshim shon. It's not like that. Shes was not like this. So there's another phrase, Bedusa Mitzalmo, said he was created in the image, I guess, of Adam Rishon himself. So he says, what is this? He says, Acherim. but all the rest of the people in that generation, B'demush Shadim, V'ruchim, V'lilin. There were all of these different words. I don't know if I'm supposed to say all of these names, but I did. So they're demons. They're demonic characters of lust and bad spirit. So therefore Moshe says in regards to them, I will not be seen in my evil. Now we explain this in another place. Okay, we're not getting into that particular phrase. So now he comes and he says like this: he called Adar, all of this generation. They were all this aspect of das. Once again, das has to do with seed, or it has to do with coition, a zivug. So if it's known, like in Olam Atzilus, that there is a pagam that actually reaches, that takes place down here, but it affects a certain sphere up above. So we understand that the spheres up above represent a flow of the light of the Ein Sof, the light of eternity into our world. But because of things we can do things, or we're talking about carry, he says specifically, that this is actually causes a pagam. It's like a leak, and like a plumbing leak, and nothing can come down. It doesn't come down anymore. Because that leak causes for the falseness of the other side to grab a hold of the place where it leaked from, and get it sheva. In other words, instead of this sheva going through the entire Zer Anpin and going into Malchus and then reproducing like that, making yichud there, it blocks it. And instead, that same shefa that was supposed to go into the yichud now is going the other direction into falseness. Shehem soda klipos, so yoshevet b'acharayim. This is the secret of the klipos that are sitting on the back time shal dasa elya. Now that's another idea, another concept of what it means to be, but he just says it. He says, where are these klipos? They're on the back of the place of the upper das. Now he's going to say that the place of the upper das is where? There's an upper das and a lower das. So the upper das is at the neck. So because that's the place where everything comes together. It's like the what do you call it? The pipe that comes out of a funnel. The little part that extends down, that's going to be the das on the neck. Shuhu mitzada elyon shuhu hagoron. It comes from the upper side, which is the throat. Paro, then it says like this, a paro who, what is paro? We know that paro is a play on the word oref, which means the back of the neck. So paro hu oref akasha shaba'ach re'adas, which is on the back of das. V'hoya osam aklipa, so these klipos that we're talking about, ne'achazim v'yonkim called shefach nimshach, they come and they suck off of, I should use the word feed off of, all this shefa that's flowing min hadas to zer anpin, in the das that's of zer anpin, which is coming from the yesod of ima inside of that das. So therefore the Jews in that generation, shehem min the das, who are all aspects of this das, once again, and the das is this popular, we call it copulation. It's yichud. That's the whole idea there. But this is a mis-yichud. We're talking about a yichud that didn't take place. And the male force, that's it, the male force is still not attached. But this is the generation, let's say, of das, the generation of attachment, of yichud. But instead, you have this pagam going on, and the yichud takes place because the light is not flowing, and the tzutzas carry, because that is the pagam, is the sexual misadventure about that. So therefore, when they become indentured to Paro and the Mitzrayim, like Yonkim called Shefach Das, and what do? They steal all the Shef of the Das. So what is this? What is the Shef of the Das? The Shef of the Das is the power of eternity. Is to try to take that power and use it for your own personal aggrandizement or interests. Yanki Hem Garbel the Kol Zeh, they call all of this, cause all of this. So when we talk about the exile in Mitzrayim, our indenture, the fact that we're indentured there, the whole purpose is of that. This is in order purpose of building or rebuilding Hagadushas, of which are in the Sod, the Yotze Esachem Mikur HaBarzel Mitzrayim. So Kur HaBarzel is similar to the concept of refining a piece of gold. It takes heat, amongst other things. Yotze Esachem Mikur HaBarzel, so he says, when the oven, the steel furnace, the havens, and understand that. Ki nidma Mitzrayim al hakur like a furnace. That in that furnace you're able to refine out the zahav, benifrad min sigim min sakim, and it's separated from the sigim and rebuilt. So come and learn, come and know. If you have that situation, and up above there's an achiz of the chitzonim on any sphera, and in the Zohar, I guess you could start going through the spheros and say, oh, well, we already know what the spheros have to do with your right arm, your left arm, your body, and your sod, and so on and so forth. So if this is happening, the chiziza, that all you're taken over by falseness. So what happens is the shefa leaves. That is, the eternal aspect of life leaves that situation. So that you could really get a tremendous illusion that we see, from politics, how people have different illusions about their needs or whatever they need, and they get involved in groups and all different kinds of false things, and look what could happen. So there's a istalkus of mochen de gadlus, where Zer Anpin really is only what's the right word? No, the opposite of godless is kadnus, where he's only in kadnus. And he's not constituted the whole spheros. Nimsa ki his aches as the klipos, paro, or that he says paro, Mitzrayim bedasa elyon, when they were able to secure, in other words, because of the leaks of the pegamim that were inherent in that generation, because they are a gilgul of which he says of the tipos of Keri, of the Adam Rishon, and they're going to be in this situation. He was able to take that pagam and suck off of it and feed himself off of it with a tremendous power in that world. Chazer zer anpin the kadmuso, it causes zer anpin. And this is, I think, a little piece that we probably remember. He goes back into his original position, the Kadmoso. Kibizmane Yusuf B'Shiva B'Iver Rishon, from the time that he was in the Iver Rishon. What was the Iver Rishon? Go Ima Ilo B'Sod Tlas Klila B'Tlas. That was the old thing. He's folded up now and almost completely and totally retracted. So Tlas Klila B'Tlas K'nayda Tzleino, which we have discussed in detail of how Zer Anpin appears and his different levels of growth. So after Zer Anpin was born, and he came out from the womb of Ima, let's say he came out from the womb of Ima, Yesh lo zaman katnis zaman godless. It's making a little review now, the Rab. Muchrachu shebekol zaman me'elach b'shlosha hashlosha, for all the time of those three hoyelach b'chinas mochin. Now that is the three, the Iver, Yenika, and Mochin. He had Mochin. But it's impossible for him to know this. He can't receive the mochin unless they're clothed. And they have to be clothed inside. These mochin are powerful for their anpin, but he can't get them straight. He has to get them with the lavush. Netzach hod yisod the ima. Then after they're clothed in that, then the clothing can go, that is the nai of ima, can go into Zer Anpin and deliver these mochin to him. But in that first time, when Zer Anpin is folded up, Risha, Obizman HaKatnas, or the time of Yanika, which is Zer Anpin is only 6 spheros. Ein lo ela netzach hod yisod the ima. He only has the nai of ima. Now that could take some explanation, but this is what he says. He says when that is coming in to Zer Anpin. Now let me talk about ela shebizman ha'iva harishon or biman hakadmas, which are all the times of when Zer Anpin is folded up or unfolded, but still without the mochin of godless. Ein lo ela netzach hod yisod the ima bebechinas hitzoniusum bilvad. He doesn't have. I'm not sure what that means. It sounds like he has just the levush. He says only the hitzoni could be before b'slated b'bekomo. So that we have explained in another place. The nimsa, so it comes like this. Kiv zman galus mitzrayim. When we're talking now, we're in exile. Let's look back. We're in exile in Mitzrayim. He's now strictly an ivor, just an embryonic stage. He was folded on top of himself, because the fold allows the nai to cover over the chagat, and I guess if it was possible to say the chagat over the chabad, but it covers itself over in such a way, and there, as a result of that, they start sucking, nursing, feeding off of that shefa. But then, don't forget, there is an aspect of mochim beluvashim tochen nitzutzos netzachod yisod de'ima. Now, hitzonis, excuse me. He says there was, in fact, though, mochim. Where are the mochim? The mochim are lodged in the kitzonius of Netzachod Yisod of Ima, which are going to Zer Anpin. That's the Nai of Ima, going to Zer Anpin. Now, he made a point, which is not yet clear to me, why he said they're only getting Shafa from the kitzonius. So that's the point here. So he's saying, the Toch Kitzonius Netzachod Yisod Ima. Vaz called Shlosha Mochim Shalo, then all of his 3 Mochim, which is our Chiz Chabad, Babarat Mocha Das, and specifically the Das part of that, Shabo, Chachasadim, because inside of the Das are the Chasadim and the Gevuros, Ashechav Sham Toloi Begam Medor Haku, because that's the place. This is the Begam in the Das. What is the Das? He said again, going over it again. The Das is Yichud. The Das is the concept that brings the spiritual elements together into oneness and has the power of bringing all of that together, which is Yichud. He said, but that's their problem. So all of these mochin, they left from him. So the only thing that's shining inside of there is the chitzonius of the levushim. Now, this is a little bit of this story, which is important. He says that apparently what he's saying is that the panemius leaves, goes into an embryonic stage. So he says, Asher b'sham tolet begam b'dorahu, because there's danger for this generation. Kulam koyim mistalkim oz v'menu, so therefore, because of the begam, therefore they all leave Zer Anpin in a state where he's just embryonic, his potential. So all that shines in him is the kitzonis of the levushim. Sounds like the kitzonim, which is the levushim. That's all that. So he's putting these words together. He's saying Chitzonius halavushim, the outside of lavush. V'hakelim, I guess he means lavush, which is on the outside. Also is the same concept as the kelim shel netzachod yisod, the ima bilvad. That's all it is. It's all you have there. V'hinei noidus. So now he's going to get a little bit more serious here. He says he know the kichachasanish bedas im chamisha. Now let's talk about the chasadim. He says there are 5 chasadim in das. V'chein the gevur shebedachat v'chein chamesh, and also the gevur das. There's 5 of those. So there has to be who shaklicha yisod the ima kevin shahu malvish besocha as a seres a chasadim v'gevur, since she clothes within her the 5. He just counts it as 10, which is 5 chasadim, 5 gevuros. V'adai belavush hazeh this bezuch atzma hanikru yisod shal ima, which is the actual yisod of ima, which has within it these pearls of das. Yihyabo bechinas eser bechinos. It's going to have 10 different aspects. Now, we're not explaining what the 10 aspects exactly. It seems like he means 10 compartments, let's say, so to speak. Now let's go back. He says, Ima is called Ekya. And he's not going to, and now he's going to answer our questions, I think. He says, She'ima nikras Ekya kenoda, she's always known as Ekya. What does Ekya mean? Ekya kenoda, but Prabhizman Heyos Zer Anpen Besocha Besocha Iber, and particularly when Zer Anpen is inside of her. Ekya really means I will be. So what it means I will be is that I'm in potential to really manifest myself. That's what he means by that. He uses their anpin besocha besoda iver al shem kain nikras ima b'shem ekya. That's why she has this zer anpin, but he's not the functioning zer anpin. He's the embryonic zer anpin, and that's why she's called ekya. He says. Kamosha kasa b'sefer hazar v'parshas achrei mos. You have over that going over there. He says, Ana ase le'oloda v'li'izgalya. This is what it means as a translation. In Aramaic, he says, I am destined to give birth and to reveal, be born and to be revealed. So that's the concept of embryonic stage. For the Chaim, so now we have these 10 spheros, or 10 aspects, 5 and 5, that are in the Yesod of Ima. So now we understand that these aspects are going to be 10 ekyas. And they're going to be the lavush that's going to cover over the gevuros, the chasadim and the gevuros that are going to go into the das as their anpen shall the das bismana gadlos. That is when their anpen is going to grow and get all of the malchin, that his mind would be completely clear. But now, but this is the time of the original, of the first stage, which is called Ibor. All you see now in Zer Anpin, because all there is to be able to see is his most outside part. This is answering that question of why he talked about the outside. So let's see a little bit more. Shehem Eser Shemus Ekya, which are 10 names of Ekya. Hakulula B'Yisod, the Ima that are inside of the Yisod of Ima. That's what the Lavush looks like. But now he says like this. He says, "V'gam sark sheteda," but you have to know this fact. Ki la'olam kam mashahu l'mala b'bechinas acharayim, everything that is up above, and it would be the concept of acharayim. Now we know that acharayim is the place. The upper, we have a rule, I think you might be able to say this, the acharayim of the upper, or the panemi, becomes the panemius of the lower part. So he says, so again, he says, Gam sark sheteda, ki la'olam kam mashahu l'mala bebechinas acharayim, b'ridas and lamata, as they come down. In other words, it's that they spread out, or they go into the next parts of. Na'aseh sham bebechinas panim, over there they become a panim. Though, so he did say that. So he says, when you look at the panim, the panemius of the panim, let's say the panemius, bechinas hapanim v'hapnemius, heim shemus ekya kisidra. This is the norma ekya, aleph k, yud k. He says, but we talk about that part, which is the aspect of the backside. He says, Heim Rivua Shal Ekya Gezeh, Aleph, Aleph K, Yud K. He says that's different. He says that's the part, that's the spelling of the name Ekya that actually, what's the right word? Trying to think, I want to say touches, gets involved, directly involved, attaches itself to the lower parts of. He says Aleph, Aleph K, etc. like that. That's the Ruvu, and it has a gematria of 44. Mad, which is also the gematria of Dam. Dam Chayi, like that. The Nimsaki Ha'eser Shemos the Ekya. So it comes out like this. These 10 names of Ekya. These names which are found in the Yesod the Ima. Hamislav Shem B'das Zer Anpin, which is now inside of the Das Zer Anpin. Heim B'so the Acharayim Shalahem. We're talking about the Acharayim, which is the Revuah, just like we saw. His Lavsham B'Zer Anpin, that when they go into Zer Anpin, Na'asa Shamba B'Chinda B'Panim, so that the Acharayim, once again, which is a Revuah, becomes Panim inside of Zer Anpin. V'heim Eser Pamim Dam, and what are they? They're the 10 different types of Dam. Now we've heard this before. So this is the Hakdama, so to speak, of whatever we're going to be getting into in Pesach here. So it's all, so up to this point, the thing is, this is all built on the concept of rectification of carry, which is the opposite of what Hashem, just my drush is for myself, is that what Hashem wants is that everything should be united. And the carry is the absolute opposite of that. It's spreading things or spilling things in a non-united way. So now we have the kind of these levushim, which are all the revuah of the revuah of Ekya is dam. Chamisha dam tohor v'chamisha dam tameh. So we're going into that idea. Kenizker b'talmud. That is all present in the Talmud. B'Masechtas Nida over there in Nida. V'Sefer Hazorah b'Rayim Mehemder b'Parshat Tazria talks a great deal about these different kinds of blood. So the Inyan goes like this. These 5 and 5, which are 10, inside of the das of Zer Anpin. So the Chasadim with the Levushim, which is this Revuah, Yorna Bisod the Zer Anpin, they go down into the Yesod Zer Anpin. So the das comes into Zer Anpin, and it's in the form of a, I guess it's so the Chasadim are in the form of a Revuah. Which are the revuas, Yorna b'Yesod in the Nekeva, the Nukvas in the Nekeva. They go down to the Yesod of the Nekeva. Then after that, when we come to the time of the Zivug, Nosen the Zer Anpin min the Yesod Shabo el Yesod the Nuk. Gam Esachamish Chasadim, and he gives her not just the 5 Gevuros, but he gives her also the 5 Chasadim, im Chamisha the V'Shechem, together with their 5 clothings. The Nimsa B'Yesod and the Keva call a Sarach of Levushim, so now you have all inside of the Keva. She has 10 Ekyas in Revuah form, 10 types of Dam. Esepamim Dam and Nizker the Ale, so there's the 10 times when we talked about Dam, and how we got to the Gematria Dam through the Revuah of Ekya. And then after this, he says, Kach min hachasadim comes from the chasadim, and min the gevuros atman noitzebechem havlad bevetin and the keva. So then from this, that's how, in fact, the energy comes to form the blood in the woman. I just want to read that one more time, so I could get the flow here. Now you're coming to the time of Zivug. Nosam Bazer Anpin min the Yesod Shabo el Yesod the Nukva. Gam Esa Chamisha Chasadim im Chamisha the Vushecha v'Nimsa b'Yesod in the Keva Kol Esa the Vushim Shem Esa Pamim Dam Keniska La'el. Okay, v'nach acher kach, Then after that, Mina Chasadim and Mina Gevuros from them, Advan Notze Bechem Avlad Bevetin and the Kavod. So that was the part that I was looking at, trying to get a little bit better understanding of it. This is the Das. He says the Das. Kach Mina Chasadim and Mina Gevuros Advan. So now you have Kafadim and Gevuros in the inside of the Yesod of the Nukva. And from there, these elements are actually going to form the Vlad. That's what I was looking at. Aval Chasar Levushim, Shem Masar Damim, Hine Mizbarda Chetzia Shem Chamisha Damim. So he says that's in the womb. He says the Levushim, which are the Revuos. Okay, the Revuos. He said before that the Chasadim and the Revuos are deposited in the Yesod of the Nukva, which is her womb, let's say. And now he says, but there was a Levush with them. What happened to them? In other words, it delivered the juice that was inside of the Levush, that is the Zera, or here we're saying the Chasadim and the Gevuros, and they're able to make it, but now there's a Levush there. So he said, Asara Levushim, Shehem Asara Damim, he named his part of the Bebitna, so they have to be refined out of there. The Hetzim Shehem Chamisha Damim, so you take 5 of the 5 Devanim, Chamisha Levush HaChasadim, which are specifically the Levushim of the Chasadim, which are once again Revuah of Akia, like that. They call him Dam Tohar. That's called the Dam Tohar. So we see Chesed going along with Tohar. So since the fact that we're talking about a Revuah here, Nikra Dam the Sivach and Iskeres, it's called Dam because of the gematria of the word Acharayim. Not the word, the Revuah of Akim, sorry. And the fact that they're levushim for the chasadim and nikra tohar, therefore they're going to be called tohar. And we are not given a reason for this. We're going on. Sometimes they complete, as we know, they complete completely misbarer, and they become lecholov, and they become like milk. So that's another stage. The Hanik Bechem as a Vlad and Anoided, so then there's going to be a child that's born, and when they had the mixture, they're coming together, the Chasadim and the Gevuros, which are able to form up this child. The child actually will be born at that particular time. The Chasadim, actually, those are become, we have this in other places, becomes Dam Tahor, and that Dam Tahor can be turned into milk when the child is born. So this is Biruram V'zikucham. This refines them and brings out their good qualities. But there's still basulas, and the Asa Dam Tohor, which becomes Dam Tohor. So that's part of that. So we're talking about really an ultimate refining part. So we see the 5 Gevuros are now Mizbarer. And then the Basulas for them. Okay, let's see. I still had one more page I could do, so let's do this as I'm running out of steam over here. So let me get just a little drink here. Okay, back into inner space. V'nimsa. Kihem Atman, that is the Halavushim, Ben Shal the Chasadim Ben Shal Gevurcha V'chem Mizbarda V'atzmusam Ku Kedusha. They do become refined out. All of these, he says, the Chasadim and the Gevuros that we're talking about, Kein Shal Chasadim Ben Shal the Gevuros, Ein Mizbarda, and they become refined out V'atzmusam Ku Kedusha, and their utter essence of them is Kadosh. But there's some left over. After his barterdom, they're divided into 2 different parts. So the concept of the pasulas, which are the revush of the chasadim, nasadam tahor is a review, I guess, a little bit. Din kosh of a kadosh. Then that could become chalav. Kenisker b'pasulas levush ha'gavuros em klipos gemuros dam tome, something which is tome. So I think that this is where we're one more page. So one more page, that's it. So he says, "Anevoyer inyan zecha b'yosef b'beir." So we could say this in a greater extent. Ki nodesh shecha b'vayed the ma the lofim. So there, here, let's go to the the ma the lofim. He b'zer anpen. That represents zer anpen. It's ma. V'vayed zuhu yesh lo shalofim. There are 3 olives. Call echa bechem mora al shem ekya b'hi yosef b'sod ribu v'acharayim. So this, each one of them, those olives, are really a reference to this ekya. I think I'm going to stop here, and this is another Indian, and we'll go and look at it, God willing, tomorrow. Call Tuv, Rebbe. Thank you for learning with me.